Okay, Garrett, whenever you're ready, my friend.
Government, the system that controls the people. Humans need control, and therefore government is necessary. Government is the reason we have an organized society, and government is the reason we are safe. But when does government go too far in its controlling? When does government stop helping and start hurting? A government controls its people with reasonable laws that keep everyone safe. And when someone breaks a law, they are punished. Some crimes lead to fines, while more serious ones can put the lawbreaker in jail. But for the worst crimes of all, the government determines that the criminal is deserving of death. The government, a body created to protect its citizens, decides to kill its citizens. When a criminal kills someone, the government decides to kill them in return. The hypocrisy of this is almost comical, and I only wish this was fabricated. But lives are being lost, and there is no time for laughter. What will the world come to when all crimes committed are suddenly reversible? If someone steals, should we steal from them? If someone burns your house down, should you burn theirs down too? This revenge of sorts is humanity at its weakest. We should be better than our weakest moments, and the government should be better too. Not only is the death penalty morally and ethically wrong, it is a flawed punishment. It has dubious benefits to society, and many question its effectiveness in deterring crime. If the government really should have the ability to kill people, it better make society better. The death penalty should not be allowed.
1 minute, 42 seconds. Pro, first point. Point 1. Whenever you're ready, sweetie.
The death sentence is illegal and serves justice to families of lost ones. Criminals sentenced to death are usually waiting their time in prison. Once they are granted the death penalty and when they are executed, it leaves room in prison for more people. If more room is free in prison, that in turn is locking more bad people away and leaving the streets safer. As seen in Source 9 in Table 10, it records the number of months in between the sentence to the execution. With no wary in giving away the data, it shows that as the years increase from 1977, the number of months increases and begins to decrease in the year of 2008. Executions happen at different times, leaving many open spaces in prison. The ability to execute not superstitiously allows for criminals to be placed in those centers. Since the number of months between execution and sentencing is decreasing, it shows the willingness to get rid of the criminals and bring justice to families, as long as allowing more inmates to be moved around to provide more room for new criminals. If the death penalty were illegal, thousands of criminals would still be walking the streets and threatening you and your family because there was no room for them to serve their time. The execution of those who deserve it is radical and in turn helping you and your family by first bringing those of loved ones justice, as well as saving citizens from criminals who could still be walking the streets.
1 minute, 24 seconds. Rebuttal.
So I'm questioning, are we really justifying the death penalty by saying it gives room in prison for more people? Are we just going to kill people to provide more room?
How hard is it to just build more prisons? Like, if there's no room in prison, are we just going to let them go to hurt other people if there's no room in prison?
And also, criminals on death row spend over 10 years taking up space in prison before they're killed, which is longer than the average prison sentence. So that the whole technique is flawed in that they spend almost the entire time in prison to finally be killed. So your point of making more space doesn't make any sense because they take up space the whole time to just be killed for no reason.
It also doesn't make any sense because California only killed 13 within 33 years. So that's not very much space that you're creating.
Not at all.
Okay, 46 seconds. Point 1, Can.
The death penalty is economically impracticable and therefore should not be allowed. States that have reinstated the death penalty have spent millions on each case. The average cost of a case for a death penalty is $1 to $3 million. The state where the economic strain due to the death penalty is the worst is in California. The state has spent billions on the system. According to Source C, California has conducted nearly 2,000 capital trials and has executed 13 people. Over 33 years, the death penalty system cost the state $4.6 billion. California is already in debt, and eliminating the death penalty could greatly reduce the debt. Also, the money spent on the system could have been invested in state law enforcement to prevent the crimes that are potentially worthy of the death penalty from happening. Or it could go into education, healthcare, and city improvements. Whenever a death penalty is sentenced to a criminal on trial, there is an appeal. Appeals add an additional cost to the already expensive case. Once there is an appeal, the decision is often reversed because disingenuous lawyers for the prosecution do not share evidence. 2 of every 3 death sentences were reversed for serious error with prosecutorial misconduct and ineffective assistance of counsel topping the list. This clandestine evidence may have saved a life or millions of dollars if it was revealed during the original court case. If there was no death penalty, evidence would most likely not be hidden and less money would be spent. Annihilating the death penalty would be a major coup due to the economic strain that it leaves on the state governments.
1 minute, 36 seconds. Rebuttal?
So on average, it only costs $86 for the death penalty to be carried out on a criminal, like the drugs that go into the system to execute them. And this is not that much considering that it keeps these prisoners off the streets and keeps your family safe.
Yeah, so the trial is what costs most of the money. Death penalty trials do cost a lot of money, but what you don't see in the stats is that 90% of trials actually are settled in plea bargains, which makes it so the case doesn't even need to go to court. It saves millions. Roth is saying, why don't we just build more prisons? That costs billions of dollars, and then your teammates saying, oh, it's too expensive to do the death penalty. You gotta make up your mind. And also, as a group, you're talking about California. They've only done 13 executions in the time frame that you gave us. In the other 49 states, thousands of executions have been undergone since 1976. So you're picking one state, cherry picking one state, when we're really talking about the United States as a whole.
53 seconds. Point 2 pro.
Justice is extremely important to many families that have had to endure the pain of losing a loved one due to the unjust actions of a criminal. The death penalty is often what the victim's families believe to be the most ideal punishment. The action of killing the criminal that is at fault for the murder of another human being is very justifiable. People that were close to the late victim are well deserving of a form of justice that is as equivalent to the crime as possible. According to Source 6, morally it is wrong to simply incarcerate someone for murder. A sentence of life in an air-conditioned, cable-equipped prison where a person gets free meals 3 times a day, personal recreation time, and regular visits with friends and family is a slap in the face of morality. The source states that the people planning and completing these awful stratagems and ruses, such as murder, should receive a much greater punishment than an advantageous life in prison. The punishment must fit the crime in order for justice to have been properly served. Therefore, a criminal must pay in a much more severe way for what they have done and the pain they have inflicted upon people, whether it have been emotionally or physically, or in most cases, both. The death penalty is the most beneficial way to properly serve justice and give families of the victims some peace after the tragic event they have now been forced to suffer through.
Okay, 1 minute, 29 seconds. Rebuttal?
This all sounds quite barbaric. We're just gonna kill someone because they killed another person. Don't you all recall reading The Crucible? Look what happens when the death penalty is present. Crazy things happen and things go wrong.
I mean, are we going to go back thousands of years to Hammurabi's Code back in Mesopotamia?
And also, Victims are completely irrational in the face of a murder of a close family member. You can't possibly take their testimony rationally when their mother is just killed in front of them. Of course they're going to call for the death or the slaughter or the torture of the murderer, but does that mean it's right? Of course not.
And in the 20th century, 23 people were found to be wrongfully executed, and through DNA testing, 17 were found innocent after serving time on death row.
45 seconds. Point two, con.
The death penalty should be illegal. This is due to the number of innocent people murdered. ProSource 4, which cites a study by Columbia University, found that 68% of capital cases that resulted in the death penalty were ruled on without significant evidence, without widely public defenders, and on wary grounds to commit murder. This means that 7 out of 10 people killed on death row were put there by lazy or incompetent judges. The audacity of the U.S. government, who committed horrid acts of murder on innocent men such as Ray Crone, Earl Washington Jr., and most notably, former homeless man Wary Willie, to continue with this medieval practice is just sickening. Hundreds of other innocent men and women are put to death every century by the U.S. Being one of the last 25 countries in the world to legalize the death penalty is more than embarrassing. It shows just how wrong it is. I implore all of you small, weak-minded people to open your minds and make the right choice.
Okay, 1 minute, 5 seconds. Rebuttal.
You guys are saying that Hammurabi's code and all that, an eye for an eye. We're not talking about one person killing someone. We're talking about one person killing hundreds. That's an eye for a whole lot of eyes. And also, you're talking about this 23-person number. This was perpetuated by an anti-death penalty group. They're saying that 23 people likely were possibly, maybe, not convicted properly. And only one of these people was actually exonerated by the state. So, and it was from some case with a mentally disabled person in California 100 years ago. They found out that it wasn't actually him and someone else was punished for the crime. Like, it's few and far between, and they're all created by these anti-death penalty groups that are just basically spreading propaganda for their cause. It's not true, it's not right, but it's okay.
And you also said that that happened throughout the 20th century. That's 100 years. Instead of, that's 23 people in 100 years.
That possibly could have been misproperly convicted and executed. 23 people possibly in 100 years.
55 seconds.